The National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls is the only national advocacy organization founded and led by incarcerated and formerly incarcerated women and girls. Organizing began in a federal prison yard with a group of women, including myself, who wanted policymakers instituting criminal justice reform to hear the voices of formerly incarcerated people, those who understand the harm the current system inflicts and have the expertise to create an alternative system that recognizes each person's humanity. As formerly incarcerated women, we believe a prison will never be the place to address the economic and psychological reasons women end up in prison. Prison most often causes further social and economic harm and does not increase public safety. The prison experience increases trauma in women and, if they are mothers, to the children they are separated from. It deepens poverty in the individual lives of incarcerated people and the overall economic stability of their communities. Although our long-term goal is to end the incarceration of women and girls, we are also working to address conditions of confinement for those living inside of prisons. We support women seeking compassionate release and work to raise awareness of the horrific conditions in our prisons and jails. We support women seeking clemency. In the past several decades, clemency has become politicized. It is the notion that clemency is a gift is wrong. Clemency is an executive power that is enshrined in the Constitution. Justice Rehnquist called it the fail-safe of our legal system. It has been the foundation of justice since ancient times. The idea that granting clemency is being soft on crime is wrong. Clemency is based on an analysis of who the person is today, not what they did years or decades ago. People who have educated themselves, aged out of crime, are ill or elderly, do not need to be in prison. Their incarceration is not punitive, it is vindictive. Clemency is empathy in action. Anyone who claims to empathize with incarcerated people must support clemency for those who made decisions in difficult times and have grown and left their mistakes behind. Average Americans understand this. 62% of voters recognize that reducing prison populations would strengthen communities by reuniting families and saving taxpayer dollars that can be reinvested in communities. Clemency rebuilds families, fixing the harm caused by the Adoption and Safe Family Act. 2/3 of people in BOP custody have minor children. That means 65,600 mothers are in federal prison unable to raise their children. Put another way, that is 1.7 million children whose mothers are absent due to incarceration. The situation is, however, even more heartbreaking than that. Every 10th mother will never see their children again, even after they are released from prison. Approximately 11% of incarcerated women cannot leave their children with family members and thus end up in the foster care system. The Adoption and Safe Families Act of 1997 limits the amount of time any child may remain in foster care. Although creating a stable environment for children is desirable, AFSA requires states to terminate parental rights and place children in an adoptive family. This destroys the family of an incarcerated mother who could not place her children with a spouse or family member. Clemency also rebuilds families, fixing the harm caused by conspiracy laws. Conspiracy prosecutions are a major weapon of the war on drugs that disproportionately harm minor players, mainly women and people of color. The horror caused by conspiracy laws can be best illustrated by the tragedy of Michelle West, who is currently serving a 2 life plus 50-year sentence for a murder. My time is short. I do want to say that conspiracy laws are a toxic remnant of the failed war on drugs and must be reformed. The only way to fix this injustice is to reform conspiracy laws to bring them in compliance with basic principles of due process. Lastly, I do want to point out that there are several women who have come home, who are granted clemency, who have done a remarkable contribution to their communities. One of them is here with us today, Danielle Metz, who is our Director of Clemency at the National Council. Danny was sentenced to serve 3 life sentences plus 20 years in the federal system. Her sentence was commuted, and she is a remarkable contribution, an example of what happens when we grant women clemency.